Hey, what's up? I'm Pete Crane. I recently made some music for the video game Hyper Legends from Lightspeed Studios, and that's what I'm going to take you through today. I'm going to jump into the Cubase file, take you through the tools and techniques that I used in the track, and show you some of the ideas that went into it. The game already has a massive player base with millions of players and an esports scene, so it's hugely exciting to have contributed to it. My track just launched into the game as part of a major seasonal content update and is the main multiplayer matchmaking lobby music that every player hears as soon as they launch into the game. The same team is also behind PUBG Mobile, one of the world's most popular games with over 1 billion players, which I also made a track for, but we're not here to talk about that today. We're going to talk about Hyper Legends. Let's go. Okay, here we are. This is my Cubase project for the track. You can see there are almost 140 layers going on. This is after I deleted a bunch of stuff and deactivated things to save myself some CPU headroom, but you can see in any case there's quite a bit going on for a 2.5 minute instrumental track, you know what I mean? I think let's go straight to the chorus, because the chorus has this motif which is repeated throughout the track, or telegraphed earlier on in the track, and the rhythms and things like that really reinforce this motif. So let's jump into the chorus, and here's how it sounds. Alright, so that's that. When I got the brief for the project, the only thing in the brief was that they wanted synthwave with rock guitars. That was it. No other restraints, which was really good, apart from the fact that they wanted a particular motif used throughout the track. They sent a recording of a motif that must have been from an earlier version or a demo or something like that, and they wanted it interspersed throughout the track. So here is what the original motif sounded like. So you can see the difference between that and mine is a little bit of difference on the notes and a little bit more processing and glitching and that sort of thing. So of course my original instinct with this and the original version of this was to follow it absolutely note for note. But then, in working with the agency, one of their suggestions was to just try playing around with it, make it a bit more me, make it a bit more unique, and that's what I did here. So with that in mind, let me jump back into the chorus and I'll solo, say, the guitars and the synths. So in music terms, there's a bit more of a sort of Phrygian transposition there, where it sort of goes down to that minor second at the end of the cycle of that riff there. This just gives it a bit more of a tough flavor, makes it a bit more mean. I'm going to unmute the bass as well so we can hear that in context with the melody. So you can see there's a sort of progression there throughout the 4 cycles of that chorus riff, where the bass line, it sort of starts really reinforcing that. It has that sort of minor second, that tough flavor of it. And then when it gets to the 3rd cycle, it kind of opens up and is more in line with the original motif that the client sent over, which sort of opens it and gives it a bit more lightness, and then it ties it back into something a bit more tough and dark. So it does have that sort of progression in it. It does sort of evolve over the 4 cycles of that chorus to give it that movement. So yeah, I just really wanted to make it tough, make it cool, not take too many liberties with the motif, but just give it something. Let's jump into the intro. This is how the track starts. The thinking behind this intro section is, one, to introduce the motif straight away. This was actually some of the client's feedback. The versions that I sent originally didn't have that sort of intro motif there. The thinking there is that a player is going to hear this as soon as they come in, and they're going to select their loadout and jump into a match. They might not have 2.5 minutes to sit around listening to this. Plenty of time they will. This track will loop, but we wanted to make sure that they heard that motif straight away. And what I wanted to do there, though, with that motif was not give it all away at once. I really do like leaving something in the tank for later on. Everything about it is keeping it in first gear. It sort of gives you a hint of the motif, but otherwise doesn't take you on the full journey kind of thing. So that was the thinking behind that. Keep the intro low key. So I'll play it one more time and then we'll go into the sort of next section. Oh, wait. I wanted to show you the Vega Core bits. Not really Vega Core at all. Vega Core is Argent Metal without the guitars. Argent Metal is the genre that was created by Mick Gordon for the Doom soundtrack. So imagine the sort of Doom soundtracky bits without the guitars. This doesn't sound like that in the slightest, but the inspiration was there to give it a bit more of an industrial edge, because it's me and I'm an industrial guy and I wanted this to have a bit of my personality on it, that sort of thing. Should be these layers here. I just wanted it to start with some sort of signature sound design kind of sounds and give it those industrial sounds. Let's jump straight into the next section. All right, so again, we're just building up to the chorus. Let me solo these drums. Keep doing that. So I think this is pretty cool. You can see the kick pattern in this section is different from the chorus. Here it's a bit more groovy. In the chorus, it's just a thum, ksh, thum, ksh. We've got a sort of leading clap that leads up to the sort of snare, like this. So that clap is ahead of the beat, so it gives you that sort of, cool textured kind of sound. Halfway through, we start layering it in with a shaker, which just adds a bit more groove and momentum. But that shaker, check out this instance of LFO tool. So at the very last end, it's ducking down, it's ducking out of the way. So what that sounds like, it reinforces that little break at the end. So hear that? You got that little bit of space before the next kick comes in. So yeah, I'm always trying to reinforce the groove with those little spaces, just like cutting bits out. Here's another one of my tools that I've used a lot, is Track Spacer. It's a cheap plugin. It's a sort of spectral sidechaining audio plugin. You can use it just like a sidechain to get a bass line out of the way of a kick if you want to, but you can absolutely use it as a more subtle mixing tool, maybe to get some guitars out of the way of vocals or something like that. Here I'm using it to get this shaker out of the way of the kick. Again, it's just that groove. So let me solo this shaker and the kick. Gee, that's subtle because I've got the top half bypassed, but that is absolutely fine. That's what we want. We want it to be subtle. Just reinforce the groove, get things out of the way of other things. Prioritize one element and push the others out of the way. Make everything clear and give it that energy. That's what we want to do. All right, let's listen to the bass in this section. Cool. So yeah, just some choppy bits. Again, obviously the Super 6 is laying it down just with that 1 to the -2nd. Got some, things being triggered on that, some ducking to get out of the way of things. I've used the Devastator Pro for a bunch of little bass rips as well. That's going to sort of group of bass chops with some delay on it. Got some ducking on that to get it out of the way of the main kick. And that's just giving it a bit of spice, especially like say here at the end, you've got these little bits coming in. Right? Just some of that spice. I think that's pretty cool. I like using high strings. I'll just give this a play. You wouldn't be able to see if you can even hear that in the track. You can hear it, and it's just giving it a little bit of glue, taking up a bit of space in that top range. I got a half bar break between the this call it a verse and that first chorus with, I couldn't help myself, a synthwave 80s tom fill. So what I did with that, I would have just punched in some tom samples, but there is a reverse fill going on there as well. So that is the effect of bouncing this out, reversing it, applying reverb 100% wet, bouncing that out, reversing that reverbed reverse signal so it's back the right way around, and what you'll get is this pre-reverb going into it. And what I've also done is put an instance of track spacer on that one, sidechain to the original fill so that we get this build up of this fill, and when it hits, when the actual tom hits, this will duck out of the way. So let me just solo these two. So it just forecasts the doom doom doom, so we don't just have toms coming out of nowhere. I've used that trick a bunch throughout the track as well, that sort of reverse reverb trick. It takes a little bit of time to fuck around and get it right, but just makes things a bit better, and I wanted to put all my tricks into this track. Cool, there's our chorus. Let's go from the chorus into the next section. Cool. So, it's just a section. It sort of brings the energy down a little bit from that chorus. Still keeps the tension up for something cool to come though. Again, there's this little, actually it's a 1 bar breakdown between these two sections, and it brings back this Vega core kick. Not Vega core, but And that's reinforced with these little steam clangs from the SQ80. SQ80 is a very cool synth plugin from Arturia. It's got 12 or I think 8-bit oscillators mixed with a sort of analog emulated filter. So I'm absolutely loving it for sort of 90s industrial sounds. Let me just solo how that sounds in this track's context. Just like those awesome, terrible sounding clangs or sort of steam breath noises. Falcon is another cool synth that I use a lot of. It's basically a desert island synth. It does absolutely everything. So this is what the layer from Falcon sounds like. So it's just a rising, noisy percussion thing, but it's quite cinematic, isn't it? I think that's quite cool. We've got some, claps that sort of come out of a filtered state. We've got those aggressive industrial drums reinforcing the main kick and all that stuff. So yeah, the idea is it's just sort of staying to one note, giving us a bit of a breather, and then it goes into this. Okay, so I told you there was a full-on metal breakdown. It works though, doesn't it? And it worked as soon as I put it in, and I thought for sure the client will ask me to take that out, or the agency will ask me to take that out, or I will come to my senses and realize that this track doesn't need a metal section. But none of those things happened. And I think it's all about the execution. This was something that, the Otherworld agency, Fabian, the contact there, was really good at sort of saying is that it's all down to the execution sort of thing. So he was like, this is the terrifying thing. He said, what's going to sell this track is massive overproduction. Just put everything into it, give it a sci-fi feel sort of thing. But as part of that sort of statement or sentiment, execution of your ideas is reinforced. So even though on paper it's mad to put in a metal section in the middle of a synthwave track, if it's well executed, it works. And I think this was well executed because even though the drum kit, the drum palette completely changes, the frequencies that it hits and the amplitude of those hits are quite even. So you're not sort of bereft of a sort of bass frequency because this one has it even though it's in a different instrument. For the drums, I used the Gojira drum plugin. It's what I've used for all my drums since the plugin came out. Apart from that, I'm using Eurobass 3 for the bass, my Quad Cortex for the for the guitar tones, and of course my Legator G8 FX 8-string for the guitar playing. So that is what has gone into the main bits of this. You can see there's some more SQ80 clangs, which sort of reinforce the melody. It's the same melody as before, right? Forecasting things, telegraphing, very cool. Oh yeah, so to lead into it as well, I've done another one of those reverse reverb tricks with the snare. So here is what that sounds like. And with everything, just these metal bits soloed. Got to get those bends in. If you're doing Argent metal, yeah, just bending the string on the 8-string, all that good stuff. Let's see how it transitions out of this section. And we're back into a second chorus here. So as you heard, there's just a little bit of a half bar break. So the momentum of the song keeps going, but the drums are not hitting there. Let's listen to that again and a bit more of this next chorus. Hear that? That is... just a bit of a slightly evil sound on top. Again, using that reverse reverb technique underneath some plucks. So it's telegraphing that upcoming pluck, and that pluck reinforces the melody underneath. What this section is about is this is a variation on that chorus, giving this track some dynamics and making it really sort of have somewhere to go. It starts in first gear and then it really goes somewhere at the end. I didn't want to just copy that last chorus and have two choruses in a row at the end because people are going to listen to this track on a loop. So if you kind of hit them over the head with choruses again and again and again, it's going to get pretty boring. I also didn't want to just keep layering up the chorus to make the second chorus the most climactic part. So I decided to make this new sort of section here and make it a sort of orchestral-led section. I've got all these orchestral layers here, violins, violas, cello, some more staccatos, some brass, some big orchestral stacks. And the melody that is being played here is also something worth noting as well. It's a sort of simplification of the main chorus motif and a sort of variation on that. And that is deliberate as well, because I didn't want, exactly the same notes. I wanted to just hit the sort of highlights of it as it moved around. Let me solo this orchestral group. I really like this effect of a swelling choir. It makes for an awesomely cinematic riser. I used Omnia for that choir. It's just a simple single layer here. I've gone much harder on choirs and other tracks, but here's what that full swell sounds like. I mean, super cool, right? There's something that we really resonate with when it comes to like recordings of humans singing with their voices. It really grabs us. One more time with everything else, because I just think that swell sounds really cool. All right, and let's jump to the end of this section and into the outro. Okay, that's it. I think this has been very long. My camera's run out of batteries once, so I think that means that this has been a very long video. And that's it. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.